pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start with the roll call. If everyone could introduce themselves, name and position, starting from my far right.
Laura Powers, Director of Student Services.
Jane Simard, Business Administrator.
Kim Conant, Director of Curriculum and Grants.
Joe Crawford, Assistant Superintendent.
Austin Garofalo, Superintendent.
Brenda Willis, School Board.
Michael Thiel, School Board Chair.
Jen Thoreau, School Board Vice Chair. Jamie Carew, School Board.
Jenna Paradise, Secretary.
Karen Rand, School Board.
Jason McLeod, School Board.
Anthony Henry, Pinkerton Academy Representative.
All right, thank you, everybody. The first item tonight will be the consent agenda. For approval tonight, we have adoption of the non-public minutes from April 8th, 2025, adoption of the public minutes from April 8th, 2025, approval of the manifest in the amount of $4,138,206.28, of which $2,821,257.35 is general payroll, and $1,316,948.93 is general expense. We have approval of one nomination, Lori Fleming, school nurse, South Range School, and approval of two resignations, Karen Goyette, ESOL teacher, district, and Jen Tristiano, ELA teacher, Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
First by Jason,
Second.
second by Jenna. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, and we have two nominations that we're going to consider outside of the consent agenda tonight. The first is going to be a nomination for the position of Director of Human Resources. As most everyone probably knows, our current director, Kathy Kennedy, is retiring at the end of June, and we have a nominee to fill the position. Joe, are you going to take it from here?
I will.
All right.
So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to Paula Quiroga. Paula is our nominee for Director of Human Resources, and we are so excited that she has agreed to join our team. She comes with some great experience, some great energy, and we're excited for you guys to get to meet her and everybody to get to meet her. So I'll ask Paula to just introduce herself to the group, and then if anybody has questions, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. I am very excited to be here. I am currently working in HR at the Manchester School District, but before that, I was an HR business partner overseeing 3 manufacturing plants. And then before that, I ran the Heinz Convention Center, the HR in Boston. I did that for a couple years, but mainly my background is in human resources and recruiting and onboarding. And yes. Anything else?
Does anyone have any questions? No? Well, I know you went through, we had quite a few candidates for this position, and you came out, I think, as everybody's choice. So we're happy to have you coming here to the Derry School District. And if nobody has any questions, I will, at this time, take a motion to accept the nomination of Paula Quiroga for the position of Director of Human Resources. First by Brenda.
Second.
Second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Welcome to Derry.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right. Our second nomination will be for the position of School District Treasurer. This is an appointed position required by law. I think, Jane, are you going to give a little information on the position itself?
Sure. The treasurer position is required by RSA 197, and the school district treasurer is responsible for maintaining checking accounts, investment accounts, bank reconciliation, making sure that all of the checks and balances are there with regards to expenditures and revenue. And we have had, my first position in the district was a treasurer in 2000. And then when I became the business administrator, Sue Hebert, who also is a administrative assistant for Laura Powers, she replaced me as the treasurer. So she's been the treasurer for the last 24 years now. And while we know that there needs to be turnover every so many years, there's just never been anybody who has been interested in position. Sue is actually retiring from the district as of June 30th, and we've been looking for a replacement for her since 2022 when I looked at our last post, and have not had any applicants. So prior to that, before the posting had come out, David Clapp had reached out, interested in the position, and then he was on the school board, which meant he could not be the treasurer. We have since spoken after he left the school board, and I encouraged him that perhaps he would want to apply for that position, knowing his background. He's got an MBA in finance and accounting, and at his business manages a $200 million budget. So we have a $102 million budget, so I thought that would, he more than exceeds the criteria for being the school district treasurer. So I'm bringing that forward for a vote, and he would later, if the board approves, he would then need to get sworn in by the school board clerk at a later date, which I believe will happen later this week. And it's a $2,000 stipend.
Move to accept the nomination of David Clapp for school district treasurer.
All right, first by Jason, second by Brenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Yay, David.
Yep,
Thank you.
Congratulations, David, wherever you are. All right, so the next item on the agenda, we have a couple of presentations tonight. We will start off with our Director of Facilities, who's here, Jeremy Lamoth, and I think, Jane, you're going to speak to this as well, about an issue with West Running Brook Intermediate School.
Yep, so we had our facilities committee meeting last Friday so that we could have a meeting to go over the brick. I don't know if I did bring the samples that the committee chose. I don't know if anybody wants to see that. But this is going to replace the concrete banding, and it actually looks really nice up against the building. So we went with a darker tone. Right now it's the gray tan concrete. And we know that there are some bricks that need to be replaced, and so we went with it's pretty much the exact brick that's there throughout the rest of the building. So these will just replace the broken bricks, and then this will be the banding. So everybody agreed on the committee. And bricks have been ordered, and contracts are signed, and they will be ready to go in June to start that replacement. And I think Jeremy, after we did the brick, Jeremy wanted to take the committee up to look at some issues that he has with the roof. So Jeremy is going to talk about that.
So, as everybody knows, we had the roof replaced.
I don't think so.
There's no light.
There you go.
There we go. So there's still two areas of that roof that we've been experiencing some leaks. I guess through the process of elimination, before we did the roof replacement, we assumed it was the rubber roof that was leaking in those areas. We replaced the roof. Of maybe 20 leaks that we had there, there's 2 that don't seem to want to go away. So through the process of elimination, there was talks too that maybe it was the banding. But if anybody were to walk through the school knowing that we just put a new roof on it and you see a bucket somewhere, it looks like we put a roof on it with holes in it. We ended up digging in more, eliminating other things. Tech Roofing has been great to work with. They've been out, not sure if it was their issue or not. They went up and did water testing. They spent hours and hours they sent multiple guys up there trying to make it right. It ends up that that's not the problem. The roof that they put up is dry. Everything is good with the flat roof portions. When we did the master plan, The metal roof, it was determined that that had a lot of life left in it. So that metal roof portion was not touched when we did the new roof. Through water testing and, just picking away in the attic, crawling through the attic, getting up on the roof in certain areas, we've determined that there's some joints when the metal roof was terminated, that water is leaking underneath that, and through a pitched roof, it ends up dripping much further away than where the leak actually is. That's why it was so hard to find. So part of the point I want to make today is the new roof we put on is solid. It doesn't leak. We went up with ARM and Tech Roofing to look at the areas in question, and we still don't have a fix yet, but ARM is working with a metal roof company to come up with a cost-effective fix there. It's literally 3 small areas that we have where the metal overlaps another piece of metal and somehow water is getting in right there. Once ARM gets back to us with what that repair will be, like I said, cost-effective. The problem with a metal roof is if there's a leak halfway across the roof, in order to fix it or get underneath that portion of the roof, you have to take that half of the roof off. So we're going to avoid that, and we're going to come up with a solution that that works for everybody. Part of the problem too is we can't access it because it's in the area of the roof that does not have, one of them is not near the rubber, but it's all the way at the top of the roof. We don't have a lift to access it. We don't really have a way to look at it to get a good understanding just yet. So, yeah, I guess that's the point I want to get across, is that your new roof is a good roof. So if you guys get complaints or somebody says, you guys just spent all this money and it's garbage, it's not. It's areas, one of the leaks is actually coming through the wall. So we were able to find the leak where it was going into the wall and coming out into a classroom. So I think we've got to the bottom of it. We just need to figure out what we're going to do to fix it. One of them, Tech was there last week, actually the day that the facilities committee was there. Once I met with them, they didn't leave until they did a patch over the metal just to confirm that that was the cause. And with all the rain we just had, we had no water. So I think the cost-effective fix may be something like, if that roof is still good for another 20 years, in 5 years, it will have to be part of our maintenance plan that we have them go up and redo that section with however they do it. But it'll be a huge cost savings and stop the leaking. So, any questions?
I'm guessing since you guys are still, trying to nail down the problem, we don't have an idea of how much a fix will be at this point.
No, we're going to avoid taking all the panels off. That would be, that would be horrible. I mean, they make different products now. ARM has a metal roof contractor that, he's the old timer that is the best there is. And try and come up with not even so much a patch, but a different detail that comes off of the dormers to shed water away. Because right now, the way it's designed, you've got the metal roof, all that length of the metal roof comes down, and then if you look at the building as you go around West Runningbrook, it looks like a beautiful dormer that comes out. Behind that is just a flat wall. So all that snow comes down and is just pushing on that wall. So all that tension right there, the ice damming, things like that, the patches would have to be on the edges of that. So whatever that looks like, I'm not sure, but I envision them adding a detail that is actually built up to shed that away.
Jane, what's the expectation on how we would fund this project once we know what it is?
Well, depending on the cost, depending on the cost, we would either have to appropriate unspent funds from this year if you wanted to have that repaired over the summer, or you would use, because you had some savings on the roof for the Grinnell and Hood, you could because the bond also does give the leeway for other projects that are maintenance related, you could, the board could vote to do that, take it out of there. But it's definitely a project that both Jeremy and I would recommend getting done. I mean, you guys were there, there's a bucket in the teachers' room.
I don't even know if I would call it a project at this point. I think that the repair that we just did was like $1,500. If we can repair these in the same way, then maybe we're looking at something like that. If we have to have a metal roof contractor come out and it's just, 2 or 3 small sections where they're putting a piece on, I don't think it's going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Jane or Jeremy?
Jeremy, I have one question. When you said that there were parts of it that you weren't able to access because of like the location, is this something that could be further explored when the machinery comes in to do like the banding? Because I'm assuming that there's probably some scaffolding, there's some higher up things. Would you be able to utilize that machinery to get to discover more?
Yeah,
or?
depending on, sometimes contractors own the equipment and they don't allow other contractors to use it. I'm not sure. But what I would like to do is when we do get a lift here to address these 2 spots, I want to use that and them to address all the spots that are similar. Because if that detail is that way there's no reason why it's not the same as you go around the building just because we're having the problem here. So I would like to just dig in and make sure that while we have the equipment there that we get eyes on all of it.
And when we, once Jeremy gets the proposed solution, we can bring that back and we'll do the executive summary. I know we have pictures of some of the areas and we can put that together. I just want to thank Jeremy for being here because I saw the pictures. It was like the Polar Cave lemon squeeze. We're lucky he got back out of there. And that's part of the reason why it's very hard to access it from inside the building.
You were saying there's a lot of dead space up there that, was intended for a potential upward addition on the building, right?
I don't know if that's what it was for, but there is a lot of space up there.
Yeah.
A lot of climbing. From the ceiling on the 2nd floor to the peak is probably 30-something feet. It's a maze.
All right. If nobody has any further questions, thanks for coming tonight, Jeremy.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
All right. Next up, we have Joe, and Emily Whalen is here, Director of Next Charter School, and we're going to get an update on the expansion project over at Hood. So yeah, you guys first came, I think it was in November, to talk about this project.
Yeah, so we just have some updates for you. Can you guys hear me?
Does this mic work too? Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool,
Okay.
sweet. And I'm Will Gowan. I'm the Expansion Project Manager, also with Next Charter School.
So I'll just give you a quick timeline update of what we've been up to, and then I'm going to let Will talk about what the project is itself. So some of you guys are new, but I think I've met everybody, and most of you have been to Next at some point before. Just for a quick background, Next opened in the fall of 2013. We were originally located at the space that's currently deep, if anyone knows where the little kids are. We were in that space for a year before moving to West Runningbrook for a year. During those 2 years, we kind of figured out what type of space would work for us, and we did our first major renovation in the downstairs sort of basement area of Gilbert H. Hood. We built 5 classrooms and a common space there. Since then, we've done a few different small-scale renovation projects, each time aligning to our growth, what we needed for our programming that we do, which is offering small, personalized learning opportunities in a competency-based setting. So this project that we're talking about tonight has been ongoing for a while. I think Joe was the first one in 2019, 2020 to start looking at expanding into a mezzanine level. Oh. Wow, good job projecting. Thank you. So now I'll whisper. So those of you that went to Hood, maybe you know there's a sort of a mezzanine level that used to be a locker room a long, long time ago before the library was built. That level is not ADA accessible, so it hasn't really been usable since, I actually don't know when, maybe 2000, Joe did an exploration of expanding into that space in 2019, right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic just kind of placed a pause on that project. Just about a year and a half ago, I reached out to the state charter office, and there were charter school expansion grants available at that time. So I applied for a grant, and we received a grant of $650,000 that was to be used to expand, essentially, to increase our enrollment by 25%. So that would be increasing our enrollment from 80 to 100 students over a 3-year period. We wouldn't be able to afford to do this without that funding. Once we got the grant, then we had to sort of figure out how we were going to use that money to grow into that unusable space. So Will came on board at that time, and we've started working together. And I'm going to let him tell you about the project itself. When I was here in November, we just spelled it out a little bit, what we were planning to do. Since that time, we did an RFP, and we selected Bonnet, Page & Stone out of Laconia, which is a really well-respected construction management company. They did projects at Hood in, what do you say, 1984? So they've done hundreds and hundreds of projects with schools all over the state, Pinkerton Academy, Timberlane. They've been a really great company to work with. And so we've been working with an estimator there to bring in subs. The quote for the project came in at $611,000. Which we thought was pretty reasonable. We can't finance the entire project with the grant money, so we're going to be spending about $250,000 from the grant on the project. We are spending our cash reserve of about $196,000, and then we are securing financing from Enterprise Bank. We secured a loan at a 5-year term at 2%. So those 3 pieces are what's going to allow us to complete this expansion project. And then just timeline, BPS would like to start as soon as possible. I've spoken with the administrators at Hood, and what we would like to do is have a start date of June 9th with no demolition work until June 13th, which is the first day that students are out of the building. So that's our timeline piece. I'm going to let Will talk to you a little bit about what we're actually going to be doing in that space, and then we're happy to take questions.
Yeah, and I'll add in, the goal is for us to have this project complete at the end of 2025. That is our current contract with Bonnet, Page & Stone. So starting June, wrapping up in December. If we can use it this school year, fantastic. But if not, so be it. It will depend on how quickly the work proceeds. So yeah, we're going to be expanding into the former locker room space in the basement of Hood. It's about 2,200 square feet. And we are going to be aiming to utilize this space for multiple things. It is going to be increase our enrollment, but we're going to be, I'm hoping to have probably 2 classroom spaces, a media lab, and a more common area as well, in addition to an ADA accessible bathroom that will include a washer, dryer, and shower. And this is also to target some of our at-risk population who might need some of those washer, dryer, shower services, might not be able to access it at home. Yeah, it's going to be able to expand the amount of programming that we're able to offer, hopefully adding in some media programming, and expand our PE. We've been very creative with the space we've had. I'm not sure how many of you have visited, but we still offer PE classes in the small amount of space we have, but we are looking at a particular space that will be able to expand literally the amount of space, both in terms of like height, width, in terms of the amount of space when it's not just waiting for it to be nice out for us to do PE. We have more space that we could utilize for that. Yeah, just more classroom space as we grow in size. We're going to have the need for more space, and it's been right around the corner. I've heard about it from years from Emily and Joe, and the opportunity to jump in is going to really be able to, I think, accentuate and hopefully really aid next. It's a tight space where we are, and this more space as we have the amount of kids that we do, going from about 80 to 100 over the scope of about 3 years. I think we're looking to, that's at least the targeted growth right now. The space will also be, we are looking to put in some windows in as well. For those of you who have visited Next, we are we're not dungeon dwellers, so to speak, but we're in the basement, and we're going to have a space with a little bit more light by that garden exit, that garden exit, which will be looked at mainly as an egress right now, not necessarily an entrance. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to add in right now. Very open to questions. We're working through it right now, so we're still in conversation stages with subcontractors and Bennett Page and Stone. Yeah, excited about the project.
Questions?
So you're looking for this to be finished at the end of this year, so you'd probably be looking at increasing your enrollment the following school year, 26, 27?
So the target is to increase by 7 per year over a 3-year period. The main construction is, I think, an 8 to 10 week scope. So the sooner we start it, the sooner it'll be done.
Mm-hmm.
The big piece is blowing through a concrete wall and putting in a handicap accessible ramp. So that piece will be completed over the summer, although BPS has worked in schools, and they're really remarkable in their ability to, fit around small people trying to learn things. But we want to make sure that big disruptive piece is done over the summer. We have to have our certificate of occupancy for 60 days before we can occupy the space. So we'll see.
And I can jump in to add
Yeah.
a couple pieces too, just in regards to steps that we've been taking. We are currently in contact with Derrytown, David Eastman and Bob Mackey, and around permitting, and so we've already taken steps they're aware of the project. They've seen plans, and so we're in process around permitting. And yeah, I think the goal would be sooner the better. The construction company we're working with knows the typical construction timeline is summers, so they're going to try to see how much they can get done, and then the growth would be aimed to be gradual. And I think that one piece that Emily talked about is that also we are going to be putting in a wheelchair lift, because a part of the separation of spaces is we are on the bottom floor. This is, I would say, a half floor or full floor up. And so we're going to be building in stairs and also a wheelchair lift so that it is ADA accessible.
Any other questions?
So what kind of construction do you see happening after school starts? The end of 2025 is December, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to be happening at that time that will impact Next, but it will also impact Hood and Deep?
So I would say at that point, most of that work would be internal. They might be in regards to, we've already been in contact, I don't know if Jeremy's still here, he might have left, but in contact with Derry Maintenance as well, and hooking into systems and kind of more of the internal work. Nothing that would be, I think the big work is the demolition. And hooking into systems and getting the subcontractors in for electrical and HVAC and those sorts of things at that point.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's no further questions. Thank you, guys.
We'll send you pictures when it's done.
All right, next up is delegations and individuals. At this time, residents of Derry, parents of currently enrolled Derry students, and employees of the district may address the school board on matters that pertain to school and district business for a period of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. As a reminder, questions cannot be answered in real time. If you would like to speak, please come up to the microphone at this time and state your name and address for the record. Not seeing anyone come to the microphone, so we will move on to the next agenda item, but the comment period will remain open until 7:32 p.m. All right, next up we have our student member updates. So, Mr. Henry, you're up with the Pinkerton Academy update.
All right, so tomorrow we have Student Safety Night from 6 to 7:30 at the Stockbridge. This will have multiple presentations from various law enforcement agencies, both local and within the state. A lot of it will be about drug prevention, specifically fentanyl, because that is becoming a big issue here. And there will be some stuff about vaping as well and the dangers behind it. Astrothon was a couple weeks ago. That's when students stay up all night, basically, at Pinkerton to raise money for St. Jude's Hospital. This year, they raised $36,126 in one night. Yeah, so I was impressed by that number. Little bit of something I was able to be involved in was I was part of the first delegation for YMCA Youth and Government Club. This is a program that's existed for decades in the state, but Pinkerton, despite being the largest high school in the state, has never had a delegation. So I kind of helped that get started. Basically, it's a model government. We get to use the State House. We get to use the Supreme Court. I was a Supreme Court lawyer. There were like a couple hundred students there statewide, and there was 8 from Pinkerton. So I was very happy with how that went. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Next week is spring break, and prom is May 17th. Ticket sales are closed.
All right, great, thank you. Any questions for Anthony?
I have one question. I noticed your T-shirt, and I'm thinking of your age, and I'm thinking of the early to mid-'70s, Jeff Lynne's ELO. Did you actually go see that?
Yeah, I saw them at TD Garden in September.
And what did you think?
They were great.
Yeah.
I've been a fan for years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm all classic rock, so.
There you go.
All right, thank you, Anthony. Ms. Kyle is not here tonight, so no next update. But we will invite Emily back up again. Our next item is going to be the next charter school memorandum of understanding.
All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to pull up a presentation just to kind of get you all acquainted with the details of the memorandum of understanding. So as Emily kind of shared earlier, Next Charter School and the Derry Cooperative School District have been partnered since we opened doors in 2013. At that time, we developed a memorandum of understanding. Let me see if I actually put this on the next slide. Yep. So just so people have an understanding, a memorandum of understanding is in fact a non-binding document that spells out the agreements by both parties so that there isn't confusion later. Typically, we update this document every spring. It's usually 1 year at a time. There's some bullet points here to just kind of go over some of the things that Emily actually already talked about in her previous presentation. So Next did occupy 3 different spaces in its first 3 years of existence, which was fun and exciting, but I think we were very happy to settle down in one place. And as Emily shared, there's been a series of renovations there. Next does have a lease agreement with the Derry Cooperative School District. That's a separate document, and that is a binding agreement, as typically lease agreements are. So really what the MOU does is it sort of spells out all the other sort of relationship pieces between Next and the Derry Cooperative School District. Emily, anything you want to add to this topic so far for background?
No.
Okay. Moving on to talk a little bit about the proposed changes to the MOU. They are incredibly minor. In the electronic version we sent you, we highlighted those changes. There has been a phrase in there about the Derry Cooperative School District having the ability to bill Next Charter School for phone services. Because this MOU has gone through many phases, we've also had different phone systems in place. So this MOU just sort of says that it's up to Derry if they want to create a bill. It's not as simple as you might think when all the phones are now all over IP. So we'll let Dr. Dancy figure that out, but it is in there if Derry is able to pull out a bill for one specific phone. There's only one phone line at Next, right?
There is, yeah. And
437 Next.
It is convenient because people come to Next when they're supposed to be at Hood, and they come to Hood when they're supposed to be at Next. Like the guy who tried to give us 500 of your computers today, and we used our phone line to call upstairs. But there's just one phone line, so.
Great. Under New Hampshire state law, the district or the local educational agency, or the LEA, oftentimes known as the district, remains responsible for special education services to students who are in charter schools. And there are lots of different ways that happens. in the MOU between Next and Derry, we spell out exactly how special education services will be provided for Derry special education students enrolled at Next. It's a little different because there are roughly 73 or so Derry students at Next. A large number of them have IEPs. In fact, I think Next is the largest concentration of identified Derry students outside of Pinkerton Academy and the Derry schools. So there is a full-time special educator, and we have 2 paraprofessionals at Next, 3 paraprofessionals at Next right now. 4 that all
Just
work
4.
for Derry.
Yeah, just.
Got
It
it.
was 3 till just about a month ago. We got a 4th.
Okay.
And additional pairs that don't work for Derry and aren't billed to Derry.
Yeah, and another thing
It's a
that
lot.
is very confusing for people, I still get this question a lot. Emily and all of the employees that work at Next Charter School do not work for the Derry Cooperative School District. A lot of people think that Next is part of the district, and they're really 2 separate organizations that have like a partnership. So Next has its own board of trustees. Some of you are on it or have sat on that board in the past. And these employees, both the special ed personnel, the teacher and the paraprofessionals, are in fact employees of Next Charter School. However, because the statutory responsibility to provide those services remains with Derry, Next and Derry have a cost-sharing agreement in place that is spelled out in the MOU. And what that actually gets to the second bullet point. In the past, we actually had a dollar number that said Next would not could not bill any greater than this amount, and we had to keep changing it every year because that amount was benchmarked on the salary schedule for teachers. So somebody brilliant like Emily said, why don't we just write step 6 masters instead of changing the number every year to match the step 6 masters? So pretty minor arrangement. Just for clarity purposes, Next Charter School does from time to time, and I think probably currently, have to hire staff at different rates, but Next has to absorb any costs that are in excess of whatever that is spelled out in the
So
agreement.
currently, we seek reimbursement for about 85% of the paraprofessional costs, and I think 90% of the sped teacher costs. So those, we have additional special ed costs above what we bill Derry for, so we're not profiting in the special ed department.
Right.
Yeah.
I
guess, so statewide, there was a bill that was proposed this year, House Bill 222, that was repealing a previous MOU that required all charter schools to enter into MOUs with all districts that they work with. So we mostly partner with Derry, but we also have students from Manchester, Londonderry, Chester, Auburn. There's a House bill that requires that we enter into an MOU with each of those districts individually, which places a heavy administrative burden on me and the districts, because the conversations that I have with Laura and with Joe, I also have to have with all these other districts, although it's on a much smaller scale. This year, there was a bill that was proposed to repeal that requirement to reduce the administrative burden on schools and on charter schools. Ironically, the bill to reduce administrative burden was pushed back to committee, so they're going to debate it for another year to see if they want to reduce the administrative burden. So with that in mind, I was seeking to reduce our administrative burden and just revisit this agreement every 2 years. The MOUs with other districts, once you've had them on file for a certain amount of time and you have a working relationship that's built on conversations and trust, then the MOU becomes really perfunctory instead of something that you're going back to all the time. So I'm happy to talk further or take questions, or do you have more? Do you have more slides?
No, I don't. I think that's it. We just wanted to see if people had questions about the MOU, the document itself.
Joe, you and I had a little conversation about this, of how the tuition is pegged to the Pinkerton general ed tuition, and then we deduct the adequacy aid that the district would receive if that student went to Pinkerton. So for a public charter school, you guys receive the adequacy aid directly from the state, and it's obviously not at the same rate that we would pay, that we would get for a student going to Pinkerton. So I was wondering if you guys could give an explanation of why we use the
Why you pay us?
Pinkerton adequacy.
Why do you pay
aid.
us? I mean, so charter school funding is different across the state, and I'm involved with a lot of different charter schools. Next and Derry has a really unique partnership that it's mutually beneficial for both of us, and it's unique to the state. A lot of other charter schools and districts wish that they had this arrangement. So I think what you're referring to is that, so Next gets a per pupil allocation from the state that's an additional charter school grant that's funded by the charter school program. That's that same grant that comes from the federal government that the state of New Hampshire has to use to pay for charter schools. So every charter school in the state gets a certain per pupil allocation from the charter school grant. We also receive state adequacy. So the total amount that we receive that we will receive in 25-26 per pupil from the state is $9,363 per student. For some charter schools, that's all they receive, although most charter schools have some other source of revenue or additional partnership from a foundation, or they have a space that was donated to them, or they just really struggle to operate and they have really high staff turnover and they require a lot from parents to volunteer to come in and clean the bathrooms. And frankly, they close. There are, I think, 2 charter schools that closed within the last year. I think that the beauty of our relationship is the stability that it allows. We're one of the oldest charter schools in the state right now. In the MOU that we have, our tuition increase is limited to 4% per year. So the state 2 years ago gave us an increase of 25%, but in previous years they gave us 0%, 0%, 2%, 0%, 1%. So in my mind, the 4% increases represents a stability that we can work with that allows us to project into the future. And I guess, big picture, Next is a really small organization. So we can't hire teachers to the 0.85 of a teacher, right? Our staff are very important, so we have to hire to the whole staff. And if our funding changes by a couple of percent, that doesn't mean that we can see those percents realized in our budget, because we just, one teacher is a large percent of our budget. So I think that's, I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm trying to speak to the nature of our relationship.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, I think we all agree that, your school provides a valuable service to Derry and that Pinkerton isn't for everyone.
Agree.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions about the MOU? No.
Anybody have any other questions?
So do we need to make some sort of motion to
Yep,
do
I'm gonna,
the 2 years? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm joking.
Yeah. So no other questions. All right, so I will take a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Derry Cooperative School District and Next Charter School as presented.
So moved.
First by Brenda. Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you in 2 years.
Thanks, Emily.
Well, hopefully before then.
Well, we'll have a ribbon cutting. You guys can come to our new space, our former locker room.
Sorry, Michael, I think my question was about the 2 years, how it was being changed. I didn't know if we needed to make a motion to change that.
No, it's in the memorandum of
It's- okay.
understanding that
All
we're
right, sorry
approving.
about that.
So
Thank you.
approving the memorandum.
Gotcha.
All right, next on the agenda is going to be Austin with the summer school board schedule.
Okay, actually, Mr. Crawford worked with our incoming superintendent, Mike Flynn, on this summer schedule. The general thought process for the one meeting in July was a lot of people on break and take vacations during that earlier part of July with, I think July 4th is on a Friday this year. So, and we were going to put the whole thing forward, and then we said, no, we really need time to let Mike get here, and then he can look at the schedule starting in September. But what he was looking to put forward is so the 22nd would be the 4th, right? 4th Tuesday. July 22nd, for one meeting in July on the 22nd, followed by 2 meetings in August, the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, the 12th and 26th of August.
All right, I think the schedule makes sense. I want to say prior last year, we had historically had just one July and one August meeting. So this is more of a return to what we had done in the past. And I think having that second meeting in July, later the 22nd, that'll give Mike some time to get his feet under him, a few weeks in the job before he has to come to one of these. So I will take a motion to approve the 2025-2026 school board summer meeting schedule. First by Jen,
Second.
second by Jenna. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, our next item will be Jane's business administrator update.
Okay, as I mentioned before, we are, I mentioned that the contract has been signed for the project at West Runningbrook. We will be putting together documents so that we can give you the timelines and all of the items that have been done so far in the projects. Cliff has done a mock-up of what he has proposed to do on our website, and it looks really good. I know that Austin has seen it and Joe has seen it, and it's going to be a great place where all of the documents and all the information will easily be found for the projects that are going to be going on that are related to the bond. Speaking of the bond, I have been working with New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank doing the application. That is, the final application's due the 24th, but we have signed off on it today, so I think that we're in good shape. And I, as always, want to make sure I thank Mark Fleischer. He is the, he's sort of the me of the town of Derry. And anytime the town goes out for a bond, and we haven't gone out for one since, I think, 2000, 2001, sometime in that range. But Mark is really good about always getting anything done that I've requested very quickly. So I want to thank him to getting the information to the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank for our application so that it would be submitted on time. And also working with our bond bank attorney, Renelle Leloulier. She is walking us through step by step all the documents that bond counsel needs in order for the bond to move forward, also to go out for the sale. So we're working on that, and all of those documents will be at the with bond counsel probably no later than Thursday. So we're in good shape for those, and we are also gearing up. Obviously, it's getting to the end of the school year, so anybody who's on the Finance Committee, I'd like to start putting out some dates to meet with you, either the end of May, beginning of June, so that we can see where our unreserved fund balance, what it looks like at that point, so that we can have a plan if you are going to look to possibly retain, or and if we're going to bring any further projects after our next facilities committee meeting. So I'd like to send something out and see if we can get that going and be able to bring something forward. Usually we don't do it till we're into July, but I think that having a committee, it'll be a lot easier for us, and we'll be ready to go a lot sooner to make those decisions.
That's
Any
great.
questions?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I think I'd like to see that, facilities committee do, is come with a proposal for what we want to do about retained funds. So that's great. We can get that on the calendar.
We do have a few projects that we will be bringing to the May 6th Facilities Committee for the committee to review and see if there are things that they want to move forward.
Okay. Any questions for Jane? All right. Next item is going to be Austin's superintendent's update.
Okay, on Friday, April 11th, families, school board members, and administrators were invited to East Derry Memorial Elementary School to learn about their new We Deliver Postal Service program. Participants in We Deliver are members of the East Derry ISLE program. It's an acronym for a special ed program, Intensive Supportive Learning Environment. I hope I got that right, Laura. Thank you. Starting the We Deliver program was a brainchild of IEL teacher Stephanie Kelly, and it gives these students training in a variety of skills that include reading, math, sorting, organization, work ethic, and also a number of social skills development. I want to thank the postmaster of the Derry Post Office, Mr. William Bill Peterson, and our longtime mail carrier, Tina DiGiacomo, for coming to East Derry to answer student questions. Also, I would like to thank the students for their fantastic work and attention to detail. Thank you to the families of our IEL students, the extraordinary IEL program assistants who include Rebecca Burke, Allie Cowett, Karen Cowett, Melissa Diaz, Mary Matucci, and Jennifer Sliviak. Finally, thank you to our East Derry Memorial Elementary School IEL program special education teacher, Miss Stephanie Kelly. Thank you all for caring so deeply about our IEL students and their families. This is a wonderful program, and I can't wait to stop by and check it out again. Friday, May 16th, coming up in, 3 or 4 weeks, is the day and date for the 2025-2026 kindergarten orientation. If you have a child who will be in kindergarten next school year, you need to have your child registered to attend the orientation. Currently, we have 85% of the available seats filled with registered students, which is fantastic at this time of year. Please remember that seats are on a first-come, first-served basis for seats in your child's neighborhood school. Therefore, if you and your child want to attend kindergarten orientation, and or if you want the best chance of your child attending kindergarten at their neighborhood school, please go online and register your child as soon as possible, and definitely before Friday, the 16th of May. At the end of school this coming Friday, April 25th, we will begin the April vacation for students and all of our non-year-long staff. There will be no school Monday, April 28th through Friday, May 2nd. For those who are staying put, I hope the weather will bring warm and sunny days to our area. Safe travels to all who scuttle off to other parts of our state, to other states, to other parts of the country, and even to other countries. I look forward to welcoming you all back on Monday, May 5th. And looking ahead, at that point, there will only be 6 weeks left in the 2024-2025 school year. We go through this process of the school year, and it's amazing. Sometimes it seems like it crawls, sometimes it goes real fast. There's a lot that happens when you look back, but then all of a sudden it's this time of year and you go, where did it all go? The last day of school for our 8th graders will be Wednesday, June 11th, which will be the 8th grade promotion ceremony, which will begin at 4 p.m. in the Pinkerton Academy Hackler Gym. We look forward to seeing all of our 8th graders promoted at the same ceremony for the first time here in Derry. The last day for all other students from preschool to 7th is Thursday, June 12th, which is also the last day for all of our wonderful assistants. The last day for all of our outstanding teachers is Monday, June 16th. I hope everyone has the opportunity to rest and relax with family and with friends. Let's make it a wonderful month and a half, and I will see you all again in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. I was also able to go to the We Deliver event over EDMES. Jen, Brenda, Jason were there as well. And that was awesome to see the sense of responsibility the program gives to the kids. They get the opportunity to go out and walk the halls, meet other kids throughout the school and staff. So thank you to Miss Kelly and the rest of the staff over at the IEL program for the invite, and thank you for everything that you do. All right, next up we have committee reports. We did have a couple of committees meet during the last 2 weeks. The Facilities Committee met, as we've already addressed, to go over selecting the brick for the West Running Book project and to take a look at the other issues that they're having over there. One other committee, I know, Jenna, you attended the meeting of the town's Net Zero Task Force earlier. Was that earlier this week?
Yes, it was on the 17th. A couple of points just from that. Former Representative O'Connor said that there was a bill going up in the House that is looking to eliminate the NH Saves program. So if anybody has ever participated in that, where they come to your house and they do assessments and you get discounted and they help you out, that is possibly going to be on the chopping block. So if you have any updates that you want to do to your home, try to squeeze it in. To that note, I did reach out to Jane. I guess at one point there was some connection about possibly the school working with the NH Saves program with a Jesse Dustin to save on some of the school projects. I spoke to Jane. She said she would look into it, so hopefully we can tie up any loose ends before the money disappears. The other question that they had, they were interested, so the solar farm project is going on over behind where the town dump was. That's going well, and they were interested in expanding, and they were eyeballing DVS. They were looking to the area behind DVS, and we're still eagerly poking to see if that was something that could ever be done as for the land behind there. Something to consider. Not sure what we're doing with that land, but it's something that they were interested in asking about. And I think, yeah, that was pretty much the scope of that meeting.
All right. I'll move on. FYIs and member updates. We had a town count from Pinkerton. Did anybody have any questions about that? All right. I also wanted to mention yesterday, West Running Brook got a visit from the acclaimed jazz musician Delphio Marsalis and friends. So the WRB Jazz Band had the opportunity to work with Mr. Marsalis and his band during the day on a few songs. They got to do a performance during an assembly during the school day, and they did a concert last night. So I went to I got the report from my son on the assembly, and we went to the concert last night. And yeah, it was an amazing opportunity to see some world-class jazz musicians, put on a show down at the school. And it was an even more amazing opportunity for the kids, who got to go up, play a few songs with the band, and I have to thank Ms. Saranita for arranging the event. And of course, our West Running Brook PTSA for their hard work and fundraising throughout the year. And without the PTSA, we wouldn't be able to have events like that. So thank you to them. All right, so future meetings. Our next meeting is going to be right back here, May 13th at 6:30 p.m. And our second May meeting will also be at 6:30 p.m., but we'll be celebrating our retirees, and that meeting will be in the cafeteria at the West Running Brook Intermediate School. So if there is nothing else, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Jason. Second by Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Good night, everybody.